Usually I talk about many things on this channel when it comes to the black pill, about genetic determinism, genetics, self-improvement, lifestyle and all that. And I rarely talk about my own personal life. Yes, I use some personal anecdotes from my own personal life to, let's say, prove a point in some of my videos, but I never truly dedicated this channel about talking about my personal stuff. So I guess that I'm going to be sharing a little bit more about my own personal life in today's video, because this is kind of a hard topic for me, and I personally do not have that many people to talk about this topic, because many people do not share my own perspective on this specific event that's happening. I'm losing a friend to drugs, and the problem is he's a very good friend. I do not want to reject him, I do not want to go my own separate way, because he's generally a good friend. But because of drugs and because of his own mental state and the situation that he's in, it's just a catastrophe. And I feel so many emotions towards anger, depression, sadness, because I generally feel that I had a good bond with that friend. And I feel so much sadness knowing that I'm losing him, because he's mentally going unstable. He's mentally losing his sanity. And the entire friend group feels the same way, because we spent a lot of our childhood with him, because he's generally a good soul. You probably know many unfortunate people who are good people, kind souls, who would give the world everything. But due to some circumstances, maybe drugs, maybe relationships, maybe jobs, or some unfortunate life events, they're just going their own way, and they're just kind of losing themselves. I cannot really share my own perspective towards my true friends, because they do not understand my perspective. They do not understand my thought process behind this, because everybody sees some kind of hope. Everybody sees a positive light. Everybody's an optimist in this certain area, whilst I'm not. I am the guy who wants to see the objective truth. I want to see the objective reality without any filters. That's the reason why I wanted to record this video, because the point of this video is not that drugs kill people. It's not that drugs are the things that cause people to go into crisis. It is life. It is the thing behind the drugs. I do not remember who really said it, or where I read this quote, but drugs and addictions, those things aren't the problems. They're the symptoms of a much deeper thing, of a much more harsher reality. But many people disregard this harsher reality because they cannot see that harsher reality, because they do not know the person in and out. They do not know the entire personality and the entire life story of a person. I'm gonna call this friend Jack. Just imagine Jackson. Let's call him Jackson. We were friends since high school. Even before high school, I knew him before high school, and we were so deeply bonded by his goofiness, by my own goofiness, and we were just so tight-knit. Recently he got arrested, and he managed to bail out the entire situation through the psyche, through the mental problems. So now he's kind of healing in a mental institution, which means that they're tying him down, they're drugging him, they're doing all the mental psychosis things on him, which isn't a very pleasant thing to hear about your close friend. And everybody's trying to focus on fixing the addiction, but nobody's actually focused on fixing the thing behind the addiction. The thing is that people who are heavily into drugs, who are heavily addicted to psychoactive substances, there is a reason why they are addicted. There's a reason why you cannot tackle the solution by facing it head forward. There are things, there are environmental positions that you need to tackle in a much different way, in a much different pathway. The thing with my friend, the thing with Jackson, is that his father died when he was 6 years old, which is a very tragic thing to say. And because he was raised by a single mother who was also mentally unstable, a lot mentally unstable, it was very obvious that he would grow up through the street, that the street will raise him. And even though we were always there for him, we would always help him financially and help him mentally by talking to him about many of life problems around girls, parents, jobs, money and all of that. You cannot fix the underlying factors, the underlying fundamentals of living in a broken family. Unfortunately, genetics and environment determine a lot about your life. And I know I already recorded this video before talking about genetic determinism, but today I'm going to be talking specifically about environmental determinism. Even though, yes, in the past video we concluded that genetics determinism is a very important thing for the development of a kid, of a child, of a young adult, to see where his future will be, another very important underlying factor in the improvement or just the development of a person is environmental. determinism, which is who are your parents, where were you raised, your environment, your hood, your street, the people around you, your school, the people that surround you. And because every single underlying factor in Jackson's life was drugs and street life, it was inevitable that it will end this way, that he's going to go crazy, that he's going to go mentally unstable. When you go through your entire life without having a proper mother to take care of you, without having a proper father figure, you're gonna tend to look outwards. You're gonna tend to seek for different solutions, to seek for different father figures. That's the reason why many people who are not raised properly by their own fathers, they will go heavily into, I don't know, online guruism, listening to Andrew Tate, listening to Hamza, listening to all these self-improvement gurus, which isn't such a bad thing if you think about it, because if these gurus genuinely help these individuals by teaching them to become stronger, teaching them to become much more stoic, teaching them to become proper men, that's not particularly a big issue. The issue is the other thing about profiting from that. That's a totally different topic. The problem is if your father is not there, if your family is not there, of course you're gonna end up in a very bad position in life. And because of that, I already could predict that this shit would happen. Was the entire gang, the entire squad would it was a shock to them. It was a big shock to them, because when I got the message, when a friend called me that he went to the mental institution because he was arrested, I wasn't really in shock. I could kind of predict that because the underlying factors were already there. Unstable family, raised by the street, what do you expect? And the second problem with that is that people telling their own little advices that would help them but would not help him, because everybody just says, oh, just stop taking drugs, oh, just stop doing that. There's a reason why these individuals take drugs. It's to escape the misfortunate life that they live in. Unfortunately, from the perspective of my entire friend group, everybody has families, everybody has stable jobs. Recently, most of them have girlfriends and good and healthy relationships. Of course, they would not take drugs. Of course, they would not take so much drugs to the point of going mentally insane, because they do not need to escape the genuine life problems that there are, because for them, there are no problems. And every single guy in the friend group, when it comes to the question of Jackson, everybody says that, oh, there is hope. There is a thing, we can save him. Brother, you cannot save him. And that's kind of the issue, because everybody wants to give some false hope, whilst I'm the only guy who is trying to see a realistic picture. The problem is not the drugs. The problem is the mother and the environment. And when he leaves that mental institution, he's going to go back into drugs. It's just inevitable. It's like predicting 8 o'clock at 7:30. What can you realistically do? And the thing is, like, we're currently 21, he's 22. We have kind of built our lives in some sort of way, because we had leverages. We had the leverage of living in a healthy family, of having better opportunities, not being so deeply into drugs from the early stages of our own lives. And that made me question, what's really the point of giving out advice? Is there really a beneficial thing on giving advice to other people? Because most people will land in the position where they will land if you can actually predict their past. Because, of course, if you're a historian, you can sense that there are many patterns in history in general. There's a reason why this event happened because of the event before that, and the event before that, and the event before that. Unfortunately, to fix him, you need to fix the factors, you need to fix the fundamentals, the base. But the problem is, if the base is unfixable, if you have built your house on sand, how are you supposed to you cannot just keep on fixing the house, because the house will collapse. There was a moment before this entire mental institution thing happened for him, where all of us five in the friend group, where we all meet up with him. And then we try to, like, let's say, talk about certain things, talk about stopping drugs, stopping doing that, just fix your life, just focus. And everybody tried to give some sort of, let's say, intellectual advice of, okay, brother, just stop taking drugs, come work with me, we're gonna make a lot of money, we're gonna fix you, we're gonna be a good young individual, we're gonna fix you. Then the second person says that, oh, you just stop taking drugs, go to college, take a proper education, you're gonna be a different person, you're gonna be a way different person. And the thing is, like, I'm just sitting there silently, because what exactly can you say? Because all these people are talking from their own personal perspective. That's the thing with giving advice. When I'm giving advice, I'm talking about the advice that would fix me. I'm talking about advice that is perfectly suited for me. That's the whole point of, that's the whole problem of giving out advices to other people. To give advice to someone, you need to know that person in and out. You need to know that person fully, like truly, for you to give a proper advice. And even then, that's sort of difficult because you do not know what's going through their own head. You do not know what's going through their own mind. You do not know what happens behind closed doors. And that's the problem. Because the only thing that we can give him truly is just emotional support. Just talking to him, just be friends. But now it has reached the position where we cannot even do that because he is genuinely going mentally unstable. And now we literally cannot talk about anything else. That's kind of the problem. Mentally, let's say physically, let's imagine this scenario. You're growing up. When you're 6 years old and everybody around you is 6 years old, your mentality is also probably of a 6-year-old kid. And all of you are going to talk about the topics that are revolved in that 6-year-old range. But if you're, let's say, 21, 20, and everybody around you is physically the age of 21, but you're mentally stuck at, I don't know, the age of 10, what can you really share? You cannot really grow with other people because whatever people say, you're not going to understand, and whatever topic you want to talk about, most people will not reciprocate. Most people will not engage with you due to the factors that these topics are the past. These topics aren't interesting anymore. Right now we're talking about relationships, girlfriends, jobs, trainings, and all this, let's say, important stuff in life. But when you go out and just talk about, oh, this party lifestyle, oh, the party, and last Saturday the party was fire, we took MDMA, we took all of these drugs, it was just so amazing, the music was blasting, like, you're not going to really engage, you're not going to have intellectual discussions in that because you are on two different playing fields. And that kind of pisses me off because people do not understand my perspective, and I generally feel like I'm alone in this situation because I'm trying to find real solutions, even though there aren't many solutions because environmental determinism. Plus everybody's just giving out flushed out common advices. Ooh, just stop taking drugs. Do you genuinely think that that person, that Jackson, would stop taking drugs if his life situation was good from the start? Do you genuinely think that he will stop taking drugs if he just magically go get a job? No, the problem is the factors outside of our control. That's the thing with people. Most people land in the position of life where it's kind of expected of them to land. Realistically, these advices, yes, they would help him, hypothetically, if he would to realize and if he would to actually put in the work. These advices would help. Just get a job, get a driver's license, socialize with people, focus on the much more important stuff. These advices would help, but the problem is he's so mentally damaged to the point where that shit would not work for him because his entire life is revolved in drugs. And I'm kind of pissed because there are people who genuinely care, and yes, I also genuinely care, but it is just emotional damage around because everybody's just emotionally damaged about a person who there is no saving. And yes, I'm talking from a much more selfish perspective. I'm talking from a much more, let's say, mean and evil perspective, but you need to understand my position to actually understand it because there's no concept of good and evil. I stopped believing in this concept of good and evil because everything is about perspective. Even truth does not exist because truth is perceived by our subconscious. The truth is perceived subconsciously. So therefore, what is true for you is not true for me. Therefore, what's evil for me is good for you, and vice versa. I have reached the position where now we have to use damage control because some people cannot be saved. The thing is, I'm very close to him. And all of that stands, but at some point you just have to reject some people. At some point you just have to leave some people be because the more you are emotionally invested in someone, you're causing way more damage to yourself compared to that person. And we're going to talk about the morality, the moral perspective of that. Is your emotional damage worth it? Is it worth it to help someone that refuses to get help? Because Jackson said personally that he will not stop consuming drugs because drugs relax him. What can you do after the person you want to help directly tells you that they do not want help? What can you do after that position? Because I am lost for words. I'm genuinely lost because I do not know what to think anymore. I have to be humble and admit that I'm still young and I'm still confused about life and I cannot really help many people, but after someone refuses to help, after someone refuses to be helped, you just have to go your own way. And that's the advice that I want to give to other people, because that guy will drag you down. There's this quote, I really like this quote: you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And if you want to spend your time with drug addicts, of course you're gonna land and end up as a drug addict. And that's the reason why you have to go your own separate way. I'm gonna try to release this video. I'm gonna try to give this video to my friends, my close friends, to listen to actually understand this perspective, because everybody tries to give their own unique solutions, but the problem is after some point there are no solutions. So what can you, the viewer, take away from this video? I personally do not know. I'm just talking about shit that is happening in my own life. Whatever message you take from this video, congratulations. I guess that the point of this video is to just help the people you can, but you need to understand the position that they're at, because you cannot give advices that do not work and you just think, oh, I helped a person because I gave him good advice. Jack shit, you helped jack shit, brother. And yes, you could say that the effort is important, all of that, but objectively speaking, that person is not getting better, and you need to go your own separate way. That's that for the video. See you guys in the next one.